mada malungilita silsel morar beklav malungilongim lurior awera bodolmol malmomu urtial press conference ergid ebodong tira atangaklal Minister of Justice Minister Jennifer Olgrila mbolboskidang lungu ederel alita silsa.
وتتلك لذلو ضمن يسنا ayang dakman merang sulam الجلال الالتا سيلسا ولا sulam الجلال blessings الالتيل سلو دي مقرنيا اقول كيسي الا بدنا مروبا بدنا sulam مروبا الجلال تلتال وكسب امل مي وبنجلا presidente قلت المرابلو وقوبي بلا تقول جري المبدئ ادرابلو ونيتا كلاين سيو ما بدنا sulam مروبا الجلال اوريدي الادرا ميديا ومقلتنا تتيرو باغ لو مقراتين بولسب إذا مغلو ريور الانفورم رابلو بولسب إذا باغ المقلا بلو بولسب ويلاو ريول مران السب أقلا بلو أقمال مران سلام روباغ ولنيت ممل ملو مقلتنا ترى President Whips ما بك leadership رابلو بلاو give them the guidance the wisdom and the commitment and the foresight to be able to lead this nation in accordance to your words روباغ أقمل مران سلام الدبلو إلى التوقع ديال press conference المرأة. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Sulang Ministro Olgrila, rang nungu kungtel tala kutul guna sula rubak Dios. Sel niya ambil sikit التعال للياق البلو دي كده المادرة دي قدري المال تنات ل دي كمروني أقول مدورة سولل مال نوبرانا يقول rain is a blessing and we're so grateful. Direk ngutir te alle bugusus raibdur maraklay marubugul belau bilung ebiraklay marmasil belau President Paules marugul Senator Speaker Kanay marugul delegates Chief Justice ngiray galaw marbek justices governors lators bektel other belau ngarang ayangan moro hot charigi mangarik rablu belal al sids gida amdiro se kolol bangaleth adi maran mi dia lo qadimo update kida yel telok nomre gal tal sande lo senga kada miru le sense koramlo of island del dimle one day di ruera guran mora bola ver sel tutau ra ongeru lurior no se gal meeting el vice minister ra finance atsusi leding rablur belau of course el oko laba klumara ablura shabal igidangania bebira gidat magaloro lamangela sel ministry lorel matmok sel modonli el ongoing project sel daseng Palau savings bond so on me update rigid one of the things that they've been working with us on sel arala sel software to operate the tial system so me wais wasa yimla rulukut maklisay software is ready. Let's go to the next step. And of course, he wanted to talk about I got rested ang sa Blur Belau and I got activity how we can continue to work together. Highlight not only are we going to be chair of PIF, the more Blur Shabal said Palm. That's happening next summer Yokohama Blur Shabal. Magulo meeting lang mga 8 o'clock, mo 9:15, more airport mas Askogi. Arrive rabo laber 3 afternoon. 4 o'clock no meeting lang mga Veterans Affairs Ablu Ramregel. Yel Under Secretary Brown. Amlo sabel meeting ngima team na Veterans Affairs. Gidam din wase seran mga kampak tra 2024 ang mleklo to trela ayel nga son more veterans especially sel ngora to kora guru ligam nga sel langar belaw sel Veterans Administration am lekasi fara belaw la sendekal luto rablo am regel mdekal yem langya so sel lara compacta amle wasen girel mosabel di tilo abeser administration ngare al sela government rablo am regel wal do set tiada kal sebel ang wilay sila sa kalaway siya sa simla mlamongoto. Rather than gel vessel undersecretary Secretary Collins am lamo adadu kasi ngire del gut makliti aluror matrigam lera MIF lo ay segal blue lo ase ngariak klawal togol bolong atmok awan telehealth ongeru medication to trigal veterans and ngaraiga ongede
Travel reimbursement. No reimbursement.
sel sumang temosmera igal blue al ngaria guru de borir al sel al sem blue belau ngaria angeswen morti margo al sumang giril ngaras ko gin mara guru outside mesem madri kan mo cover aye kal to ege adul lungit kada sedro ase it's in process the wal blal identify lo ase area do bolospe olbila actually kada nombre gal presenter uksel meeting rigidra MIF sel Wednesday at 2 and then sel afternoon chief of staff ukno present at ora finance MIF yitilo the mersel afternoon and return mer ablur belang ele dirigal sera narsim no sedel el mitra assistant secretary Hague he'll be coming back to Palau for the PIF of course in malmol mal wasing ngaray gel sikal help one of the things that he wants to do is do everything and help facilitate try to deliver igal audit sergid faster schedule lang at 2024 agiren momre gara December 2026 agiren momre gara June I mean 2025 June and then next year December we get to 2026 he wants to try to help us in that area dirigal mal ase alin girin mredal spend igal ududi el matmak la togal infrastructure ablumim kada so dan ko dinga gorak mo lo ase sel dangal igal bebi ablu tiga de adiro kem da igal ududi rela da bonga ra la de kal talab ge ngari udu beto igal mo ase mela ka mo igal bebi ablu de mo kem da igal udu igal la kadam bas kamiu implement gidam dengela say one of the things in the budget tergida continued debate lo say the more approved other will be and that was one of the delays that I got implementation of project that but anyway it continues to be a debate and if you look at the second reading of the budget that more approved but anyway their grants in fact Bill Hague when he was here I say ngaramang kadogong my request get approved approved. It only causes delays, and that's what happened to FSM. 200 million aliloitra tilaw dara last kampakter tirim dal silokim. So it's important to get the help out to where it's needed and help the people. Lastly, of course, I give return al Merbelau, Ulo Dolore del May, Maria delegation at State Department. Cunningham, Assistant Secretary Cunningham, State Department Amlartiang, Madirigal Staff Delegation at Blue Ramrigel, La Senate. Temle arrive Secretary Kapsingay, no say the look meet the Tirser Kapsingay, and then we had meetings and Lolisir Tiratial proposed hospital site. May am thinking say Nartia Cell group present more Albira Lulau. Arsel naumregal feasibility study misel el decision arsel committee lo asea multirak arsel recommendation arsel amsu lo asea best el site el gire la best hospital abibula irai magim lorsel el abibula irai sengan klele minister obia sengan klele bas skibang sibang el moment arsel site lo trigal Avram Rigel, so that they can further go back and more Congress. The Tiga Gidam the executive branch, which is Secretary Landau, who is coming to PIF. He wanted a site, he wanted the estimates, so that ultimately tomorrow will be ask out the outside the so it's just part of the process that we're moving forward. A video or sell whole presentation, almost 3 hours. Tingilu Rogir sell whole presentation and the but anyway, we are other media logger tirase. Indegal selective by gale film. Maybe at time we get a lot of that. Oh, hindi mo ba ng toklal olbil. But so one of the things that we want to do, salute and Maisel group, ikaduro krula meeting ertiage ora la chiamera rigida tenge mo kapira presentation sharing them to other blue. So we'll do that the next time. But you know, nakmuiga ro na vessel mga suli or other media ng artel mo gedala la tutaw. Akamal mo excited material minister so ro mga mga suli minister Olgoril, minister Aitaro, minister Mutula, minister Obiang, chief of staff ng artel mo ged. Kita matmaru de mattuara other media rela. Of course Olgoril, Lilay, Leilani, ngariang Nigma, and then I don't know the rest of the names. Aigo, Dave, Ohana, Shandong. Tiga participate program kamira a media training. Fantastic. Malmot malo sa stira to kon bigrela del uk almo se origida la tokora media. So the people can be informed. So of course, kita amdingin wase olbira kalula Senate. Finally, elitem le pasara budget ra second reading. Wara to kamil dunga na sel second reading. I think some things need to be corrected. Ako truleng tial budget telalra has probably been the most comprehensive presentation I'll give Ibil. We gave them, you know, like an economic analysis, and not only that, top the budget. We also had like a SORA, and we have an economic advisory group that has a report. We have IMF, we have World Bank, all are independent bodies, expert that are giving us data that we use to present and come up with policies and help our actually selling, you know, one of the important budget along asel malmol malonga sa ududi rara kita in fact amle gora amle the sweda wase el almer raga de lut long sa clear sell wage across the government by another 10%. Di ultura mamadra Middle East ultura reform that we're going to need to make for SSMA pension, which will require an additional 2% expense government. We have to be conservative. 5% increase in more rather government. Why is it important? Kadam dangel wase to vacancy government. Well, one of the reasons there's vacancies in government, like abla police, that's one of the reasons. Agumra lo sa olbila tara mintak ra osisiri tak dang tak na sa omrala dimran mo rekre la blur bela. That's another reason why ngira do nga sa ududi ra. Ndi sel do ase well hali kita mo mesra 2019 agaisara 2019 mle ngaram egit ka ngariere lal sils. So I just want to share a couple numbers with you. Sel gida malungil ang bayang close screen. Tilan sel to TV. Okay. So, kami at 2019. At 2019, sel number el dos peri, el measure aklunga la geizar al sel ablur belaw. Se sel udo, total udo de lumur al sel ablur belaw. Amle 282 million. Okay? Ega me the fast forward and more at 2025. Sel number am langos ek mo 352 million. Okay? Was 2026. So we're predicting it was 389 million. Tia almost 100 million increase or more, almost 25% increase raklungel against Arab Blur Belau. Misel lologol was a Kadriga Gira del Bigik, Kadamdak, telling Kadamlang Lakra 2019, yes, we know kadamalangan kala 2019, but part of the reason we have to increase asel, if you look at that, nominal GDP, ma per capita GDP. Per capita, sel daseng sel yellow, aotil wase sel nas aklela aladrong ok mendiri kal namas. So that's why I said even though tial dollar mosadri is less valuable today than it was at that time. And that's why ang ginagawa sa ududirar adling kador tirak sel aladrong okla. That's one of the major reasons sa kador sa ududirar. Mang I don't know, sometimes maybe malimis ito kaya report rin mo Mr. Adra Senate. Ikaw mal willing almo, help pertir, explain ay kakaro sa report, mo understand. Ligati kati domyo, iga based na fact, hindi ka kati nga feeling. But you need to use real numbers, real data to make sound analysis. Another one, kung das yung close to tila bodo dangali, tadi masadara kadamal bagik na. Since 2021 al mere al time, and then there's never been a year legal li sela udo del mesois agegare or sel bled project ni wasing moyo sang angar. Hindi surplus rabek el time. Sorry. Natirada ka. Well, this no. So I just want to show this. Tianga o tilo ase ayel yellow o tilo ase rasel niya adul kamadi. Esel ayel udo dul dulla banangar omsang sesel do ase wal surplus. Ayang dekal besel yang lega dul lis ersera asora. Misel do ase deka udo that's the money that's there. Awulak share tinga one of the important things about Oscar Tir. Amasada said cyclical reserve, masel climate reserve fund. Iga ulang close to tell fund help it sell sumong, for example, a drought. And we want to be able to say, an emergency, we have to address it. We'll take the money from the climate resilience fund. Al fund ayel drought initiatives, will take care. So about the next page. So, sorry. So if you look at this, this shows you was in one saying cyclical fund. In 2020 it was 29 million. Of course, in Miran Merio, because we authorized to use that money for COVID. But still got to continue save although they get savings previous page. There's two types of savings. I get savings because of loan and excess. May get savings and moral savings. So that's why at the reserve fund ang sel appropriating ilmo plus ang sel udo del surplus umlamra mo klo. So we've also shared this was a sel cyclical reserve fund real time at 32 million. Tamsadra 5 million whatever. That's the fact. I get information like blabastri. So the namas was a there's a climate resilience at 5 million. Combined, we only need a reserve of 30 million. The combined right now we have 37 million. And we have other general fund reserves. So amle on tidan mo albira glula say you don't have to appropriate today. Di meda kangero gulo say al sumang access to do that. Edo lab el payoff ay gen muter blans. Ilang gira dalo masong sara rabel set. Masi amle IVR gidel lo say gira dal mol malong asa ududira ad gira dal find ways to reduce our blans and selorala and of course I get reform SS ma a pension require us to make more contributions and that should happen al sela budget. So mainly a budget I'm focus I get issue. Yes, there's other increases I get a minor, but I get maklol policy direction or blue. And I think one of the things I'm glad rather Odbila finally the funder objet tira GAO. But this is expert in our cell objet tira sil helper team understand I got report. A helper team the reporter because if they don't understand, we're willing to help them. And a problem at the So it's good for them to have their independent body, makmal support tayo diludas. Di, ngari lo rule policies, to me, it's backward. Ako umrar sa to kasi, doon sa udu dirarat, elakata subsidize, adeng girtir. The subsidize, irtirgel kotros pe angeso. Ela sel mua 3 million, and un sa PPUC, mal peralu, who does that help? Hindi kal help ring ko tulabul. Ng help para surangan ensans, ng help para west. Why are we helping them? Help para hotel? It's a bad policy. Hindi temnar mo legal betokol el tokol oti a governmentary. Man di kal siya dalo wudi kal a PUC di kal siya charges el proper rate and make sure and di kal goes bankrupt. May laga ko appropriate daw del mo kabe. Doesn't make sense. So we really need to look at the budget, and I hope, well, more other reading and more house, but the way they've passed it, I'm sorry, irresponsible. They need to do better. They need to take care of other belao. Ngoy titira other belal mogot. Tia, ngoy titira shoban mogot, marbebira other another blue. Why should we subsidize our hotel, subsidize our tourists? Why? Temna kong pera hotel, right? Let them pay. We have to focus ra tirigel kotros pe anges and help them. Don't just make general policies that are bad policies, which is what we have now. Kada manasto bara ang sa klela la sewer and water. Great win for Aigar Shobay. Why? Focus sa tigil otros pe anges. Otros pe anges or other belao. Let's raise their salaries. Why do we want to raise people's salaries? Last year, and one of the things, man mabalalaklalo. Como check again inflation data. Last year, there's two things that happened. Mle increase how do their other government by 10%. Mle increase minimum wage by 75 cents. So 75 cents is a more than 10% increase in Maradam minimum wage. Inflation last year, amal kare. And actually, if you look at the inflation, it was caused by fuel. It wasn't caused by the salary increase. Malo yung minimum wage. Magida omesa igal el data, economic data, or top igal policy request, ma changes, long as other abalu. Now, nariya kasi, bere maurule po sa other policy. Tira albilabla sana alalire leilani. I think 4, last year on the sana 4. We know was I get the sana the budget. So, I'm sorry. Abay gira question was $8 million and more orbi nakalulaw. Question yourself, say, is 8 bills in 2 years acceptable? Awul ka do nga sa igal policies is to get work done. So anyway, I hope to reconsider teatri ka mora house. I hope a house anu to mo sa igal important policies keep Palau moving forward. So limnesokal share it, and then let's go on to the nakamalso sa budget. Pacific Island Forum. Gida mal semriar el mo welcome ertigal betokol sa leader ang odal bulmera blur belau. In fact, as of today, the anticipated was almost 15, 15 ertigal 18 leaders amera blur belau. Yeah. The final, but we're excited. Of course, our Rogul Bulu are going to be represented. Either at the leader level or at the ministerial level. That's 18 al Bulu. And then ang tirigel sa leader Bulu, dirigal mal batok arme, I think there's over 10 ministers. Rayagi del baby rablu. Almera Blur Belo. Chief of Staff, dirigal mal so I say there's over 100 media groups outside Rablur Bela Almera Blur Belo. So, siguradi, maski may ako siya singara, nakakaroon sa lahat. And then, ang ngari NGO sa almay. PIF, of course, ang umur next, following week. Hindi ngari activities at start umur Thursday, next week. So it's an actual fifth event. So it's gonna be like 10 days. It get different activities. It get la tial organization ma tial on di bala. Mga mal mring asuler adra blura clothing artire. Kada mring la sing kada mo rin kada mo rail kada sat speedo kada mo roting adal marara rail. Let's be friendly. And you know, so that loot mera blur bela. But you know, one of the things that we always go everywhere at other wadi blur masadri, was blur bela. Agoter klabog blue, lenteja komil de tigani. So I was just driving around and no, not as much as you see in countries, other countries. Ndik kadokora monitor our governors, I got school, mara arbek other belo. Also kami sangarap kularal and pick it up. We're gonna do even more than that. On Tuesday afternoon, the Moria walk and pick. Mayas kanana school. Matatob dal mo murogomi. Preferably hindi tigal fourth grade and morbaba maybe to top the campus or tin more na neighborhood or tin tamro gomi tigal yagari ading at campus rongol ministries at top to do the walk and pick ayo say may ukta change up iri ro sen those sports the top the walk and pick for an hour but it helps us remind us so I say it's everyone's responsibility to keep Palau clean. Tadiregal malmutial teal merenga sulera aradara tial Pacific. You know, one of the things that I went to MIF and was able to talk about was a sell leather tmagal blue الغاسب أقل غاسيسية أهل بريدر أيقال كذا أم ساودر تيال أوك أرنغليلا بلولا يجد أم نسا issues like climate change سيل دو ساودر أدبيلا أيقال بلواب protecting them, using them, developing them. These are all discussions that we need to do together and promote together. So you take it from the MIF and we'll bring up PIF. And, you know, one of the things I share that MIF has a sales story, you know, in 2021, we're out of people and that's the organization and they got the Kayureng said they got said that Mage I have to say that since that time, PIF is now stronger. And say attendance PIF meetings. Every year, attendance are much higher. Most of the time, double to get participants at the leaders level than they were 10 years ago. Idea, Minister Aitaro, temle 8, ra sel laster pifrigider berau triel leaders are balloon, ladan sadra 15. So you can see the change. And that's because I think sometimes when you have a breakup and when you get back together, you're stronger. And I think that's what we've seen. So we're really excited because I think sometimes family needs to be honest with each other. And you know, I think say blah the setting was issue, but let's build consensus, let's work together. Tell people really is the launch pad pre-cup and what we want to take to cup. And that unified Pacific position when it comes to staying below 1.5, our ocean climate nexus, 100% renewable. Again, issues that we want to take to COP, but it has to be a unified position or a PIF and moving it to COP. So, whole afternoon,
President Tungil Tasils, I'm sure that the rest will have a lot of questions with PIF. The questions nga katigiril tal PSL Hospital in the presentation. Lilkor ka mar atra olvil. First talaga was sel Sel klungela tial Basiol Morngabe is el hospital is that 10 acres? Al ubeng wagrak klungel, and how was that size determined?
So, Sera 2021, 2022, gidor tabdis el first executive order. Na askara committee, elmo, okay, let's go back. Kita di rokun medino ase hospital gid has two problems. One, ngarbi tarada. Sel tar typhoon godol doba tangal morbe bulagid. Ongeru, structurally, they tell us was within 7 years, namo molmonga ga adulot leaf. So what we're doing at the rehab it, trying to keep it going. So kadang bagna tungela current hospital el time. A current hospital ang ngarbe bula utmal 55,000 square meters. Yes. 55,000 square meters is 11 acres. A little bit over 11 acres. So if you take segidal kora size and un mortial le was 10 acres, it's about the same concept. Sea un das mle sula kami team sera todo el mosea out me yida able request ay galbulu se modar sa temin mil kida se drospel el murur tialurio. You know, one of the things that donne se sera temela compact que de mitsadra compact digram de se sera un tidri que hospital moklo a mountain a de se lo tura compact no como ngulen mo so se audo $1 compact. It's probably going to have to be something that we ask for outside the compact. So kadalem say we need to do a study. Makamiti re laurerel. Mlo identify el sites el tiram los inmatik el possibly reach seguid el dosperi. The one of the things el gedram donle say orior even though a site tamle gare the still a committee say gire the lomes site. And then the next step say well we need to gire the dospera malungin analysis. El diagal tuira feeling ultuira arsemo el me ase naraigel criteria el gire de lomes naraigel ulspedre el al for the next 50 years nara romes ayed rogui emro modrodre omes ase mela sumo domes se e base raklungila dosperi en kadamarang irtisel gotrungil gire ar other belau ali gire rom dasel sel gotrungil gire ar other belau Hoy, algar orior, instead of say, hoy malungir an other orior. Algar irai, other say, malungir an other irai. Di, ingire romes al arangel belo say, ngrasel go through ingire an other belo. And yes, there a question was say, for example, albora irai, at give a few more minutes, alom galal mo. Di, trial other arabalav, amal cloa, a difference in a help more tier. So, ingire the morsel, luldas was say, we're looking at Arangalela Blur Belau. And so our site, yes, we said the minimum 10 acres. Mumlodars out. Dimle tool state to provide a ultimate clear title. Meaning, matamela government sel bulu, matamsa sea gotam le natpang, ongerunga airai. Sel ultimate area close sel natpang because it's like 600,000 square meters, 100 acres. Di kamitir sa mereka analysis ring tutro sa number one site tairai ongerong ngatpang a third orior because of limitations actimis kami example tamil subra bela sa based on our current population ay di selaru a better hospital should probably be similar to what we have now so sir more to sell 10-acre concept di tikita blood subi to say Alsum kotangar orior, you have no opportunity to expand. Le mlerar bitara guram. Egorulia building, mugegia utum rogir, and if you need to expand, then I'm will expand. So one of the things they wanted to be able to do is a Garulia building. You have the main facilities, and if you need more beds, there's space now to put another wing. You can grow. The real nesodro say, ngaria space. Housing. You know, one of the things that we're doing with the SR school, tial hospital, right? I make sure and t-shirt yang serak yegrel bui perbela triri. Adra kami sensei, magim le kira pink apartment, mo kira sirin, liga blara kami, talim la kayan, dim lagi bem kira bela ila Newton maray. Ako marar sel concept was saying there has to be government housing for government employees, maybe nurses, doctors, other finance, sensei. Encourage na naged was say bemre ngari apply and help them get on their 2 feet. Again, so we wanted enough land that they can expand. They I'm thinking was the existing hospital need the warehouse. Sira logo daro dim la warehouse. We need a warehouse there. Kita the store of supplies and enough. So akora di share sa gitan gamang explanation, but I think to the question was 10 acres mean nga basically said he would get us to where we were. So actually having more than that allows us to expand and grow and develop even more. And like I said, hindi kasi yung that's for 10 years, 20 years. We should be talking 50 to 100 years. Hospital, you should make it plan for 100 years.
Most of us actually follow up. So with your explanation, 10 acres eventually disqualify the book site ra Orion. But we have 2 remaining sites. Right after the presentation, no sa amlo ko interview ra adra ulbi latirkal tilakal mlara talo social meeting. I heard the cook baby argument was ang hindi mlakal kiri del recommenda basyo mlakiri del to individual assessments of the sites possible cook types ra hospital murayel carousel site and the cost estimates and whatnot, and then we will choose the sites for ourselves based on their assessment.
So kita man say these are all political questions, and that's why I'm gonna separate cell political ma feeling. Kada tilbira walel was kada mosi kada are experts and may help brigade evaluate the site. Magidam la askara blue ramrigel was we need help evaluation our site and come up with a preliminary design, 30% design. So a first part the process alia kada la askara ramrigel ma ramrigel amilskida 2.3 million. Sir time a senator malaire dirga director of public work. Matamle hire sel firm الموسبل evaluate artial egal sites and come up with analysis. Kita say the mother thing. Of course, at the end of the day, kita other below. So all we say was no. Hindi, remember, Maria requirements. Kita I guess I did that we can do whatever we want. Hindi kita we're planning was I got outside and me. And so we need their help. So if we need their help, they want studies that have good plans and good data and we need information and how we came up with our conclusion. So asel kami team kita mle task ni long wala artial. Toy minsa tial study na momre gal uranga igal telde. E decide was say kita mle task tial kami tiro se mo model trasai. Site, of course, all be atil. Of course, we understand what I'm saying. It's their right to talk. But we have a process. Katamla askra design, emla askra a feasibility study, emla askra most of their recommendation. So it's there. But a question was kadamira all be el mut all be lam message say dlutin mo evaluate. Who's gonna pay for the evaluation? Appropriate will evaluate a site. But Amrigal is not going to evaluate any more sites. Amrigal, I'm not say we want to break ground before I get to the office at 2028. And so you have to keep moving. And based on the analysis, it's very clear. A logic makes sense. So, like I said, we have disagreements. Hindi wa other will be real time. Ekan mi real time 2019 ako diri ka bolos issue. It's 100 million, it's 25% larger than it was then. Hindi other will be like kasi no ndiya. Kadam na kultura say there's almost 40 million nga reserve fund for cyclical and climate. No, hindi ako say. Well, I don't know how to help other. Etin mo iwa. Hindi wa ask it kasi. Mera meeting ra TCN. Hindi mo mes, hindi ka sa agreement. Hindi ka sa help ra. Etin mo mdenge. Kung nasa hindi ako mdenge. Anyway, that's my story.
And and this one statement for my news. So in other words, I get 14 deliverables or sell agreement that may require the may requirement that firm gutmok lal giltmok.
Sell 30% design of the other. They're still working on the design. For them to go to the next step, we have to determine a site. So tell kami tirigit, I'm not determine a site. An Excel part of the process, they have to come up with a design and come up with a cost estimate. The trigal donors, which are all arriving in a week. May and Cell architecture firm has to make a presentation to them and give them an estimate to say how much is it going to cost. So they can go back to their governments and come back to us with Siabal and help pratelang. Taiwan sel help pratelang. America lang help pratelang. Australia help pratelang. So that's the
Maulabong let tial muraira final halubeng sabela ulbil mong diak oy lubit it's yours to decide it. So whatever they've recommended al airai that'll be it. Diakangot alone. So they'll say.
Girel, I think all be like girel at the all the swell was it. Makamo at the analysis there it why should it go someplace else? I have hindi ka isa report all bill was it ngarami girel mo ratrabaso. What is their basis to move it to another location? Burden na di bulo was president mo tabdi was ngaraun. Mo na tabdi was tingda un. Mo na to the evidence gira budget. Ito as hindi gi mo marang. Well, hindi kasi kal help pra de kalo marang ma de kalo dingi ma tin mo dingi.
Ungyang. Give the floor.
Milita Silsa. Gusto lang kamura Presidente, talaga Acting Minister of Finance. Tagi nila budget ma proposed increase in mura wages, and I think it was in the following year 20% increase ra national national wages, private sector. So within the report trase net the second meeting at the Economic Advisory Group at emphasize the importance of fiscal discipline. It was a the long-term impacts in a government budget would threaten private sector growth a long-term economic stability. Can you explain was saying part del report is it impactful or I guess ang opinion
so girel klabe. I think the most important thing advisors girel advisors masel moruri girel ngari basis ni klabe. Official group padir kan natabde omsublo say I got wages at all time adir kan ariyo ndirigal bollut morsel level al mlani rangaramo because of the cost ra dan ok miral morba. Why say? And so what we're trying to do is restore sell buying power and other tier order radical sales. But it does multiple things. Sell increase our wage, and increase our contribution and other more SS. Increase our contribution and other more pension. So they all work together to help the system. They increases their buying power. So the economy continues to circulate. But what you don't want to do anguluk mal morba model sell otigirablu. So that's the saya belukul sil tokoy. Hindi. To this chart was say we're still below. We need to get to this level, but don't go beyond. So that's why we knew was say we need to add another 10%. The other 10% a public sector that would take us to $6.20 over $6 an hour. I say, and so we plan to do that again next year. I'm not idea say we do 5 this year and do another 5 next year. Like the layer sale, an impact. The economic advisory group I say because of the oil crisis, do it moderately. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're being conservative. So I think a close to Trela Selo ase se report remind it was do it within reason. It has to be done. Alam mo say real wages have not increased, but you have to do it within reason. Ukti ka mobile mo unsustainable. And I think we've proven that. The other thing the other one say ida amal klo aurora outside the masyoso at sir Abdul Belo. Teams kami awan an example. Sir kombalin mura radar. Ara adam no meser tilo asa yuksel. Tama meser tase. Ngana man kan pertrigal boy more money ngana man di $5 ra. Ito ase. Letera ya minimum wage kami magidi follow ri. So sir la the raising we're only hurting ourselves. Melang moria aurora porte moria aurora ablilio moria egida continue arangal geda continue mas askogin mana legida ase berendi win. Why are we helping Yuxel? Why are we helping whoever? Amrigel, I got to reduce expense Amrigel. We should understand the value of other belau mabalwath and make sure that other lower mabalwath ang usel girel karkaringen. That's why tax reform was important. It helped us in usel kirel share government take care of provider, take care of other belau provide they get services to those payroll. Same thing in other lower. So anyway. I think the bottom line is mlamas minimum wage twice. It went up from 75 cents in 2024 and again in 2025. A question I ask is it been really tough for man bring it out? No. In fact, the inflation during that time by man lario. And people have buying power. And we want to increase the Alan Morty. They buy a tax refund and continue to help them. So anyway. So lang a question to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. President, so all of question sa girapif and the mal interesting question na file. Ask him this wakal kora the ask a quick follow up. Sell proposal minimum wage sa di mura government 5% increase ng atal budget lang.
So there's two things. One, last year we raised the government wages from $5 almost $5.50. And if you add another 5%, it will take it to $5.75. Okay? So, or 577.5. So amle uda so ase hindi kalsi edel kida amal mol mersel uda so ase hindi kalsi la government ten maran mo ba private sector la kalobanggen maran. Remember kida yung government mo $5 ela tida private sector na mo $5. Ela kaduk mo government mo $5.50 or $5.77 if we had another 5%. So at least ito nga private sector mo $5.50 ela rak. And next year when we add another 5% ng anak government na $6. Ela bungela private sector mo $6. That's the concept.
The quick follow-up siya say tell number the raising niya based sila say cost of living now we need to be able to reach a certain level mo afford the living here, right? The cost of living. A question I say a production again. Are we producing? Is that money coming in arbitrarily from taxes, or is that something we're producing? Ngara impact or sell more a private sector, small operators.
So it's a proven fact that was when you raise wages, companies become more productive. They try to find ways to save cost, so the productivity of the employee gets better. That's a proven fact. So gira del momento lo hace. Dire kalungin the reward tigal. You know, one of the things they said at the budget was government malbetoka vacancy. Have you heard that statement? Malbetoka vacancy. Well, the good news was government yes, there's certain areas but most of the rest of the vacancies, we don't need to fill them. By make them more productive. So that's you know, require them to get more skills, get more education. Kasi we need to bring them back. Well, how can we bring them back if we can continue to pay low wages? So maybe, Minister of Justice, we don't need 200 officers. We just need the right officers that can handle the work. If we pay them more and get higher qualified ones that, na-retire daw. There are still may, but they're not, maybe they don't want to come back and earn at the level that we're offering. We need to provide an opportunity to bring them home.
Thank you for that. The leader, question number up if, so ka clarify a couple of things. Kung expect ra nga ratel al adal me. Do you think? May ako or number o mila
We're planning for 2,000. Korak
2,000.
medal wa mini games.
Wow. And you mentioned the president was 10 ministers, gang ministers na kakaroon balu from this member countries, salo ng ministers from say Taiwan, other places or
So, gida, ngariya, don't was it the dialogue partners? Mrigel, for example, that's a dialogue partner. May deputy secretary lang daw, but he's like at a minister's level. So that's why that's what we're referring to. So from the UK, from France, from all over.
dialogue partners.
Yeah, the dialogue partners.
High level officials ng American may expect na assistant secretary lang daw. Is he an assistant secretary?
No, he's deputy.
Is deputy secretary lang daw?
Basically,
He's the highest level.
highest.
Assistant Secretary.
Mga assistant secretary Hegel, interior. Madakal siya may secretary Bergam, may Hegel ang teri.
Hague, that's the secretary of interior.
Why see?
Okay.
Pero kung wala rin.
The clarifications, maybe tell Amora Minister Niray, 2,000 people. That's going to be rooms, transportation, support. Ngaring are you guys ready for that? Kung la
Tumlabok.
assembler are ready?
They're booking the Namodeka rooms. So, there's, yes, we're ready for it. Of course, ang nga nga ikil, andi ka siya cook more sel, kay mora Minister Aita room by ask ni nga ikil high level cook rooms, cook reserved more tier. Everybody else, cook nga ikil rooms and civilian till book. Daksal mga nakalimot mong.
Yeah, kasi maybe tila mo ra Paul Minister
Yes,
taro
please.
ikel bukurawa tikel liaison officers, drivers, do you have enough people? It seems that there are other, and if you need people, who do they contact if they need to come to you?
Ma'am Sauli, later question. Ma'am, we still need more people. Kanya sorry into the quarantine may involve it significant maluwal experience mo kanila. So til contact the officer of Minister of State Ramune sa 488-5594 lagal shelling kay dile roll me madres. Yeah.
Last question ako ka obi ang pastet electrical mga reporters ato ra aigal ko dami sa aigal lurior maral improve ra facilities sa mawaran mga kami ko mo are those all next week? It seems like kapag isiklo namo next week. Are you guys ready? Are all facilities ang namo ready kila la lurior man
Sel Claul kumsulang le. Sel Claul moblila meeting na critical leaders sa cultural center bayar mayo. Se el alcids egida narugu egel kwam gedrel tatsa parin. Namo ready hold a meeting. Jim mandire kan mo ready ra egel welcoming ma selwal farewell dinner reception. Arail o mamisra udoren marail hindi mosoro rawai gagidel weather legata mga spray parela epat sa raral bigdo sel aurora ableta concentrator ngile clow londivel ma movement ang sel aurora ma basically ara sel aurora blabot ang merekari o mamisra trigel mga spray legal line sa tangara abaluray rair el al continuing il mora airport. So hopefully el al mo next week and so either of these say el cost stripe el mora rail the facilities ado na basically mo miracle mira time. Ida uspe te alle emal merenga sulela buera kalau rengartir kada matingel wasengaringa section rair oriorma ay rail marala urorm kada mo stobel telgit lendi mo lena open hindi ka adra uror malewet malube tobet arak mo ngarang kada mal ko operate makadoling itersegi del ko operation ma understanding ra adra paluma lolo mol me dergira urelet elol mol mal bukar okya kargi del ko morsel temil maral sulang.
Well, kung may last one question, I'll let you guys follow up. Nga reason lem utter program ra el amla mo revise 100 times mo amla mo bes el selmle sa leaders meeting nagi retreat nagi mo rangar or something like that el ang mura ablila former senior surang senior rangar along. Can you explain kuramle reason for that? Ngaray kel ko reoral ko mga tumok paringin mo sila accommodated tigal leaders sa the retreat. That's what we heard.
Mal sao lele. Oy, originally mlegin mo ur. Di tira leaders. Ang ari tira yung tarbo sirira bol te masra air, te montang, madol adi kamle makit. So there's a lot of factors that was considered. Even other forum secretariat, tigal lo ngara meeting am namil mo rasay te omes masin. Mal mo bring na ba majority tira leaders, tira seniors level up. For example, Prime Minister Tonga getting a wheelchair ba. Mendakat sa el ngara mo tenga air te mo mas ngar sit sa bus it's really difficult. Logistic wise mal mo challenging for them. Ma movement tira leaders mal mo kamangal. So they actually tira Mexico kasi yang at sila tiding abal daw outside of Corol and they need their privacy. President Giba Solomons, they flew from an airplane in the other side of the island, country no retreat. So what made them more feasible, sila accommodate the leaders and give privacy. Tabila rubak, which in the kamamam will decide masalabong, hindi mga presidente. Ma security mendikat mal mo provide the security that's needed in the area. So tell omelit to Selbasio mal dim lakal. Even the secretariat tamlo visit several sites. Agree to that one.
Ngari ako rural infrastructure wise and preparing it say for security and even the
Of course, security may come sa Minister of Justice hindi atora al settel bidding tige 18 and other mo meet. It's the leaders retreat detail mo. So daka maklo logistics involved. Di atora security di kumsangal the Minister of Justice mo sorry.
Saule Minister Itaro, lalo ko ya Minister of State. So a number of attributes were taken into consideration mo between the different sites sa Losengara angin mo leaders retreat to include the component of security. 18 and leaders are Pacific and protocol standard level of security nga rin protocol na rin attached to their movement and where they are. Ako input ra nga to security lobang gila partners sa mamel na region and lomis sa to security mara telpif asegi dal site more conducive to the type of security, my level of security for that level leaders. Tungulot to badira orior el morse compare the moragel baby sites like where they're more open, more accessible or versus or segi dal al trabajo gay gidra baby lamnet taken into considerations. To my understanding and a significant alterations in infrastructure per security requirement. Whatever adjustments that need to be made there to secure it, enhance the security. Amal ako mlalo sa gilapay wala util other of yourself black mumubot tiyang mukha tiyang. Sumsegid ako na sa dal mo black tak karingin. Nganti kapag takli say ang nga labal ko.
Hindi so kan makataklil wase sel consideration lo ba retreaten mo ra blila tamala president rangar along mal na kamang discussion ra minister mar adra fifth secretariat fifth secretariat tamni advisory gid in discussion ito ko raw able low ay sa pebi the experiences ra pebi below so nga nga president sir tiangal ra the leader o invite ra adal mura completed algidela retreat. So it's happened previously. Hindi ka expense ra kabelmental mo oiter tiang, di one expense ra kabelmental mo oiter tiang ay gire la meeting, el adire kel mo touch til al kalim gire la tora security, din dia kal physical security, gire la tora cyber security. In order to ensure lo ase sel al ngia intent ra optatari ra leaders el di moditire adu sabi etel kut makli with enhanced cyber security measures al sabi etel ngul mora wari de la ngar along hindi segi te dia kango al expense ra kabelmento al di temporary for the purposes of the meeting.
In line with security, sila Eli am nga news ra Taiwan. Kira la adal currently running a travel business sa Palau. Retired intelligence officer was arrested yesterday for leaking information rabalu Palau paal kira la kura relationship ring ma Taiwan. Information about World Health Assembly with other programmes, Oceans Conference or what. Nara information platangal JLC.
So le Olgarila, ang why say it's out in the news for everybody to see. Masong Taiwan judicial system el al time undertake ako ka criminal process til involved rin kay gidal el adal do dong lim katektal nga rablo belaw reference ringil el adal merbelaw is because he was a long time business person here in Palau, ang investment ring ityang, and yes, justice system gid lo banggala national security coordinator gid amla kay audio lo banggala Taiwan ang kirela ayel information pertaining to his activities here in Palau, like the partner justice systems yang malmol maurel makada kada ko ka respect sa al process al undertaker niya Taiwan agi connected mal nga rin support tama ang yesulog spell from our end agi ulo man trade provide agi gital but agi gital mesra newspaper agi gital al information.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I have a question for Minister Ngiray. Will there be any special night markets held during PIF?
So lang yung halong ilger. Kumamo lo ay sa mong morning night market ra ayray lo mo ra kloko. Mang siya walel. Tara tiyang state ra iram na decide mo mo ra night market to re-establish as a night market. Makmo central link level kami. Ang yadong na day market tamo mo ra August 31st to September 4th. Lo mo ra imo clock mo 2 o'clock 5 to 9 p.m. daily. Also kung mga niya sorry mo open na gidali para mo participate in sel 31st to mo 3rd lo nga ra niya PVA mo si ilokol ra PVA reserve voter kami malubong ko ra area kami sel 4th specifically Coral State market bukong ko ra Coral State KSG State and Cultural Affairs. Agel number 488-19 Doria PVA, 488-3143 Coral State. Mga agel tablol number sa Bilcol, akmal mga matadar ada mga di otrulu memortraw tokar adar ablu no mi bais.
So lang, I have one more follow-up. Other than the night market and the walk-in pick mentioned before, is there any other public events that the public should be informed about that they might be interested in joining?
Thank you for the question. Do you understand Palawan?
Oo,
Okay. Aktibohin si Tokol Palaw. Awan na yung Tokol sa nga presidente siral lakot ang mga tao al wasip pifal Palaw. Asawat ang lulitial pifal more other Palaw ro kuya will kamartir kal okya karikidal nga rekrel Palaw may mayel tial erogul parka amo nga ring yang rabang raringi rabe kal kasus. Se sabi ilan murar okya kaya murar adra balum. Suadro ol tengil wase kidar adra Palaw ro kuya at mga ro kuya will kamartir kal okya karikital may. Sel opening ceremony amoringira al sela national gym din direct kalmungaring ya screening rikla man sabi ilar adra balul kuka minggal loban tarirar adra ngot al balur sa temel opening ceremony artial al parka ulo ko mong klobas yorkit eng sabi el ang sabi edlo si sabatirirar ko adra al sela gym mending wal ko taligibal ko skodala material okya karikit el mamo so isaba kidar adra baluwas wadalo trauma katingit mangara mangara dikla mongaring ya onga kama rokul seltan. Comment au era edi clarify say kato direct kalmal mga dollar tirigel local dignitaries sergif tirigel direct kal invited al mo obengela president al welcome tirikal okya karakit al roku yan me all thing la rabalor bela.
Hello, Shandon H.E. from TMC. When preparing for PIF, one must be taken into account as the host of this year's, PIF to ensure everything runs as smooth and efficient as possible.
If I understood your question correctly, you're asking what do we have to look out for in order to ensure that it's run efficiently and effectively, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Minister co-chair ang Minister Aitaro ma Minister Obia. Nga ngomura protocol sel dollar orchestra airport terminal mol mutra drang clear the whole process so maybe
So-
ko di smodi.
Diam sulara gerol. Auror amna mo o buil. El douror el plan el girel tial omral mi. Tial omral mi a gidar adar belao sen klo dole el belao omral mi. Raigal baby rayun sera a Pacific mo. Auror amna a plan magardi mo o execute ra plan ergid. Edim nakadilgid auror tiang. Kaduluro ringi tiang aringa luul el Pacific Island Forum ngania atokobet sel kamiti lo ngara aringi makaduluro lo bantri trigay gidalat. Matamla motela la merbelaw. Makadamla arulia plan ergid sel level ori rasko gira airport edingi titrir airport almora hotel tir o mangara maral MOJ Minister Olgari Lamar Adal tigel melang seortir apart teringi aklag ringi tirgal ad nandiakal maksak ese malamol 24 hours sa selang artet tirgal leaders ma umaroli ra hotel el top del mora igel meeting place malam katmok la igel pasiol bolo meeting ringi igel dinner el boring igel meeting el boloru rabek kada tiam nam katmok la rogil plan ringi mangal leda di mo execute ringi agyo maral wase igel blata katmok la kami tirigid makamiti ra PIF long ra artiang obisra a president aige edidongi el angal mol tirak la yegi dam lam katmok wal ul mo ngat maklel tial meeting al moringi ra balur bela magi kung lo mangela itaro makami tim tirga rogul minister sel kumama involve mar adel involve bertialuriol basi kada ready receive bertirgal at kaya kamaday tertir ay rogul telang tengil tial kladaul el molmu tersel sil seloral ako makaya lomsaw da sebe lang nga rin kumakail gere kad mo masaw. Hindi overall planning ma execution tiyang sel starter adon may in place rela time.
Ako dase tiang palungil ger. Tiang example mal di wasem invite other mablim. Kamalung ramadal buil kidam la mutek klol kladal mer belaw ko seronyo biang. Mengkodot el merala isel belaw ra tiak li belar gidel malwel kamar adam mera pelwad. Ya gotel klabogla aga gidele isel belaw ra kel belaw the Pacific. Kat malung adal mera madal buile treat terin morsel gotel kulbab seber. Very simple. You know, you do unto others what you expect others will do unto you. Wasa gidel tora sing tora hawa inge represent mase ohana. It's family. Said talo say the tora ha forum lang family. Said suma adam mera babaluam en adam. Makbal mo nga sulam ta question ni brother makbalo ni tara adra blue masing. You know, the road to showcase is still Palau and Pride hit. Temon 3 times the hostery, 3 times the moral Isabella makmal di nga sulim. Thank you.
Ask a follow-up. Ask a follow-up. Ask a follow-up logistics rapif. Kadi ka mara Minister Olgaril, ma Minister Matul. Nani nga update talk siya kami Minister malimli o ay saygal basta mo rin about closures matukara traffic na specify was beginning na Monday nga start till arrival delegations. Are there any updates or more specific information ng legal road closures or diversions for this upcoming week?
Sulang lilay, waise agim latal gibom dumara ngarel belaw, ngora di heads up prabalu kumam arwa Sergeant Lieutenant Padang alama Chief ngira mangyor. And we told everyone el wasigil mutal mura next week. El lutelogedi el seldabong ya kada mola pa specific dates and time frames. Mangalak alwid ya ada mamal mutal mura ngaril belara Tuesday. Nding kakmaskaw example for example ang cell welcome ceremony, cell opening ceremony, which is Monday, 31st. Ang mo close around at a period of time at raditial madalap a gym. Mo tetele la cell opening na oceans. Mang kada Oriol in partnership lamang kila state governments, mga state rangers at Oriol who are absolutely the best at that. Mo help pa rin the cell kukta daibot ka main traffic el moya ka secondary road el molto ba tidrang mat lama almong et state rangers or Oriol on masarigi der say mo sabira national police officers lo focus at tagi del main road moklo mokla traffic ram dal tagi del PNOC ma akan boy ma drop off ra leaders mo sagi da one example ra kasi during sagi the period of time ang mo close di ka devil time di sagi del temel sagi del throughout the whole week rapif ang mo rin rin that time at dito ra amlay lo giwa a secondary road malubagi opener cell turning lane I get will kumaka a closing magi direct mo closer tayo dam dala PNOC so igel minimal igel mo actual close arail moringi awaditor ma divert the traffic mang as much as we can agi multo dai agi del detail del information at Tuesday agi direct al mal diolitra adra paloma drivers alwasay mo mesra pulis ngarara lagi mo saturated tiara pulis mo como mesel was ma traffic directions ela kada speedo ngawak ela kada speedo eng mal mo ko dala aral leng mo wagay gido lolokoy tirkang leader salameng kay del minister ay taro ako set segi the level of protocol manggina marula kan boy law police escort magmobato ka amber light sa police makamang talkan po mutrara makadadyon ito la sebo da podagrigik la kada speedo get to where we need to go. If we need to get to where you need to go, maybe leave 15 minutes earlier than you usually do. Pointer say, Leo, set ka di double time. Di double time, kladal, kladal, merabalu, sel la may. Ay kaya daktilo lang nil belaw. Salbabi na time, mga nga tila, mo tele del wasay. Titigingin na kabelmente kadam usngoring il balu ma role dam sa kadang. Ay gel tira mamsadra pif. Atokora bebiringi atokora wa impact sa climate change gidan al-adra wa island balua mal impacted tokora transnational crime atokora daraksel di dang muringi tokora economy tiadi agad tingin la kabelmente tingin dro kuyan adra bela uma tokora tingin Pacific adra Pacific ro kuy makadolingit ta kay ngasew la tokora everything el mongaringi whether in traffic kado siwaklia raile other siya ima de kada ngil mga adu ngil bagel ko minister ay taro appoint nga sa Mr. President ta say tiging et rokuy da kadil tiging la kabelment tumata kay sa rokuy sa igideli lay sula
Au eral bo on wakle akti saber kami wa time lear adara media malangari nga plan kami ura klugu ke lakam oite legi mo merura dry run ra klugu airport tel may edi kama mandi kapulkul pem multito ira kama mara aral malangari nga plan kami bong hindi ka kamek mer di gagi di aparte tialu reor wasi so ada ruli dry run ra smooth transition ra at se level ger da bulwa tal mora gel el hotel tirm
adi tukureke halip sel 6% next sem obi andi ako ta kira la ilang kita hostel pifmang sa din at Taiwan may delegation tira klo and we did extend an invite to China ngani ako ay sulwasi ngani mo adras mainland China and Berbelao any hints or you got that they're participating
Ran masaula kung daso sel germo ra ubian aktibe bakit tebla skaka. Dem ranga na invite ten hotel meredra sina. Dem la ding nganya dream la ko amlu sume ko kira telelam lai ma. Di ka ngara logistics kung di ka confirmation masin ta ame on what level.
mo abi ang tukor dal tela lu do dam la mo ito tial pif o da di so donde ko kasi ngrasel bachetel to sparing il hostel tiang
wak la ka di meleot te meleme de malam la engari rul to da udo da ma di gumda seng malungi la karim ding telgibel early akpay o lingit tulwase meda bod sis para alsel emergonge bodo sado mil sebel malmo o adu lwase tela ludo da 1008 gire del direct reminder del wase direct tela ludo da atilu rasio bay mar adara mo benefit ra tialo mara el meima kamal sura la gere berak mo mesa rala yel aurora dir kamaraela mang laas be el mo tuob dara audiul sulang
I think I'll have the explanation in our class. El tilo dra yo sang argument tra blur belau. Del tartel tela. Sel gira del mrenga sulari trial betogol salid. Blur Australia, New Zealand. Yamar betogol blur. Indonesia. So several mrenga will know how much they all contributed. But the mrenga sulari sel the mesa sel lututrel tial meeting. El Berkeldibular Montaclela Pacific, e con el non si orgide el giren. Clora moita, a di mergide el mrura blid el moungil, ma di moiter vela moclungelet. Mga sedra seng, oi, a hotel tira dongoran, am lirira dongoran, to ayel dongoran. Ding mo itermergi. Okay. So, lang.
Maldilas ta question may president tia ala bela ul showcase sa toko era priorities ngani sel priorities sa Pacific mga yok priorities git para ko ra sel sawam basang malumang lasting legacy malumang issue sawam highlight tagi tagi del PIF maringiri Rubella 2026. Kung nga bela to.
Well, كده يجيلوك priority رجيد سيد الباقي المرسل ملورون ولاد الواسع كاب أمورينا Pacific. أولم لكلو تترل كاب البرا Pacific من سود روليس سيل الكلو تترل impact ra tokora climate change المرا Pacific يدري روليس را Agida, ngrasel doruri in the Pacific, so we need partnership, we need investment. Saya, so umas telti merigeng belaw, building economies, lives, action and unity. Mang sergida maras membruni aulang ngarega aldabel, obtetrir trigal sa lidel may. Mang cloud to trela Albutocar partners. Umasing seluk no Tilubra Solomon Islands was a missed opportunity. Lendim laka artelir trigal kita kau kledam yamrula tol mera abalu. Matia sel teledel noiti tril me o ay sertil was a yagida ulama yagida ya sedel magalo rol mokal المرالو مسكلي بلومام الممسيسي yo espera partnership ra omariom le ospea partnership re kamir omangede ospea partnership re kamira tora tourism ospea partnership re kamira creating energy resilience, energy independence. Again, these are things that we hope regard partners kita me muriate dil loya lo otisel urungulir tiramrar katarmal mage gau kleda me matmok lagar toy. Akti maskme example, a result traya, we already see the results. Australia may commit help pergidra to battery solar. So you know lo set el neutral valorisir sel to renewable energy. And it will be a showcase. Rather Taiwan amna armula solar be will tell out material one stop shop at PIF will be 100% renewably run. Model dengira abalu. Ngaya bus, electric buses. You know, those are just examples kada demonstrate o tilwase ayagida seder makan mulu lagi orang tangas neutral so kumam and let us take it to the next level. You know, one of the goals was how do we become 100% renewable Pacific. We believe it was achievable already. Velame sara la diesel out of control. Our renewable energies continue to come down in price, and we also need to open our minds to new technology. So tarabadoruria, the experts and men, people all this way. You know, I mentioned it before. Tora nuclear energy. They can get close out this way. They'll get it. Say just because in Tora nuclear, there's safe nuclear energy, and it's clean, and it's stable. And maybe we're 3-5 years out. Let's for the Pacific, say simple nuclear rather the Marshall Island, Tahiti, close out this way. We have to be able to be open, objective, and look at things holistically. So we hope to get maybe our trial so they can share and can open up ideas so that we can go back to our countries and say maybe we need to change some policies to help take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. You know, let's technology. Let's say data centers, AI, whatever. 8 years ago, second cable, one part of the oil asset motor, Hindi na expensive natin i-recommend ka other member like that. So you have to look at things holistically. And so we want investment, we want the opportunity to build a prosperous and resilient Pacific together. And really, المرالو nga sa ekladra clear our other Pacific. And that requires partnership. So that's the purpose of PIF, is to bring those partners together to help us achieve the 2050 strategy that we're focused on. So, sure.
Komeng mak madang malkam mga press conference akti ogira Minister Justice akura just curious. LL tuta headline ra Island Times samle sel case ra pala housing. Kura mal makatakatang se dilu ra last year makmlet chase the story muratay wakal complete ra senior irak mendil kakal filing nga 8 mak. Poltilo of the week. Makari ka kura waseng wakara share wai kikital cases with HG makuk with SP. Kaya kurang application ng ilang laatibo se yung makara kung share kikital case lo mit sabel kwatal gibal mari da wai kikital mal affect ra rather sorry mo mga results sa igal cases iti.
So le Olgarila will question bal bol sabila al adra blu el rongosi you did chase it down al girem you chase it down من تلو of the news تلو of the social media. I think the core of that whole thing is there was an unnecessary delay processing or sale case. That's just no way around it. Sige dia amin that mokla there is when you talk about what goes to the Attorney General's office at ang ngaramor SP and komisal was is a conflict mangulan da kasabel AG's office more SP there was none. So there it is, unnecessary delay. When it came to our attention, we've called in the people who were responsible for that particular case, and we ensured the losing without delay at makut makli mang mlamakat mokla mlamor obis sa AG mla file sel case gagidal direkal lodong ala palulan tilop tang clear a newspaper. We're charging that person.
What was the unnecessary delay?
Unnecessary delay, and then batol time yung akmay adaka matame Dios isiwil al tokoy agi molokoy laklamar al tokoy ang bato ka urior mong makasaya imsel baby that time hindi nga alam. So it requires just better planning and better management. So nga as a standard actual pekal supervisor sa bakral adak din direkal gilil marula ang alal nga selungil teletal mang what took place was just unnecessary delay. Mang address ringi from that angle, mang without delay and direkal mlemre adal makatmok, it's been filed other charge. So and we're taking steps to address adal dimlakal girel delay. We're taking the appropriate disciplinary steps on that and taking necessary measures to ensure that it does not happen like that. Sulang.
Sula already malmlengula a questioner kalmura ejira last week. I think mlo blagatak was saying ade kalungil our AG al AG rigid elola uror outside. So I think a minister urere da gira dal mo mesagel contractor AG uror outside stop.
Yes, sir.
That has to happen. Kung sulol algorithm le bring up particular issue mo le highlight kita albebira time kad mal mo despeto ase mel hindi ka radar alla mangira del magara well let's stop all of that. I think it's better that ba fully committed radar alla ela kada accommodate tay gaya del treta el mo I think okay sula
Last question na nga kay Lapif. I think are there any regional initiatives Palau plan mo propose during PIF? And then two questions. And then Mr. President, MLD provide the example مرة أضرب بالول وسي how I got decisions made during I got mal makluto trail which in meeting affect clarity. Just an example of one of those.
Well, ako true tial مودر تريال ما تقلل عبلول متما ماتريال سليت سلمي يعني تيل هذا لو أي سرتير ملاول تسوير أولية ترى سموسو عمل كنت مقلع جايدل يا يوم عمره لازم priority رمام من كذا إذا Pacific أنا يل كذا عمره لازم بلوتو ترل one سلداسم Pacific Resilience Facility kada malas mal mudra email dart المليون لودود يجري سلتوي ngaria bebera blul mala kamit di driable enough to reach yourself 500 million ma part rege the meeting ama mskida teal magada engage with the partnership say this is an avenue sil logi ungi help program naram bruni set Pacific Resilience Facility seudo del kidro qadar Pacific amgadare dream sen disaster ngaria ayeluk adaptation programs regen digidro ortobda udodel digidro masori Direct said unlocking blue Pacific prosperity. Say mla initiative kida ma tonga milali kada na yelo do dra bezos kada mal malong itra partners kida wasem help per kida kida. Singara help per I think last year we was a victim na sen kada yun 2 million from that and help per kida october omoreo mal mat pelablu but direct lo time that initiative is about balancing protection and production. So direct lo miskida te ala lo itra kida sem help program lo kadalula a fishing port, ngaral activity. So that's how it comes back, a help period. When we talk about adaptation, building resilience, disasters, tarawulan telpifa important merit sector hospital. This is an opportunity to guide the salida ngara blur bela o say hospital at taraygal got maclol issue kung magiram address when it comes to building resilience for disasters, for climate, for ensuring that our people are healthy. And so it's one of those unifying things. And these are more on a bilateral basis. Diba, tokora renewable. So, ngara second level, and then it drops down to how does it help us? And then said sharing our information. Miskita tell, for example, we're going to have a Tara said Heather said Idaho lab. I'm not information on the. Yeah, I forgot his name. Idaho lab said lab lang ang Miguel. El tire al time subayel kasing modular nuclear reactors. Again, bagay basically size ra container kung mo ng remote 20 years provide that dengi sending in more may. Produces 1 megawatt for 20 years. That's just an example. Maria 7 and 10 company that are doing this at the lab. So that bel share la get our leaders ra Pacific lo say sel do so the renewables sa kanang tingin sa hindi kasi LD solar by itself kasi LD wind by itself gero nga stable power source ra magel o teka one option and ding mal gare you need huge pipes we're talking about they can only provide 1 megawatt in the expense so we have to look at all alternatives and that's why could ask our scientists semong mel direct help mel share open our eyes and see what other opportunities are out there. So how does that translate to for example, if we get a stable source of energy, reliable, it helps us build the energy independence. That's that's a long-term outcome. But at the same time, we reach our climate ambitions and reduce our carbon footprint. Edregal encourage abulad and mururo sisiu. Help hopefully in the galora, lumut and man mumgal, mulut and moral merbabadol, mulut matamala masergi, the mayor telol malerida. Yeah, that's how overall it helps us. You know, we talk about health, we talk about education issues, we talk about security issues. So one of the things Dolly seeing it through the PIF, I sell Pacific Policing support group, PPSG. 300 Madrigal, el Bully Semer Ablo Vela, trigamel lo no se orgidra amangara blu, but also they're building cell communication marubing will the will yidra trigal officers ay bulu. Misel bolre igida me se trigal mru ladan ngana asher tel Pacific especially adan the blue. Adios julad. Tangara blu ade moratara blu. So collaborating and addressing those issues are important. Kadam tengan ose tara challenge kita IU. How do we cooperate e combat IU? Kadere kamne se ngari ablul degal respect a boundary kita tara a dialogue partner. Ngirel mudu mo se mela kadi mo sa misel sembera trola ablu ma mela kamo aiser kama maiga ngirel discussion. So these are things that al sumgadat magal 18 el blue masad en área crisiel. Ser del belal madadue ityadi masad regale de la sinan met muraba grenset they couldn't care less. Ren belal di murado so what? Hindi ser bodo arungul Pacific masad en muria beredet tel toy. Mang sea crisiel igual del will اسمي مقدر نصير أراضي بيلاو لين قدم رو لقال تو I know number one تيري قال من budget present تمال بتوع أمرولين أيقال أمرولين أمو help بركلانار أراضي بيلاو that's the ultimate goal ندي أنا sorry لما بقول سيسا كرتيرا budget I'm not sure سينغرا سينمال no spare time but those are things we can help them on and I've had time so anytime my economic reports must help pertiring. But at the end of the day, there are responsibility. So, may both focus already. ITEL bills are unacceptable. Okay. So, thank you. Namo de kamo. Sige, close.
Mga President,
Namo so other will be musubas.
di last ora talang tingin lapif direct kal morning ya ora taliki bel ngod al spouse program al organizer niya first lady malbatok our spouses or tirakal al leaders al mlakan formal may malos pera tokol spouse hindi ka din first lady roko hindi na kal nga first gentleman gel bila president ra Marshall al mlakan formal may nga tril topic al bol discuss tirakal spouse program or tir ay gel topic al di maludra other belaw Mrs. Raklay mang non-communicable diseases, substance use disorder, child online protection, and screen time. So igay mal relevant issues al time opportunity our spouses al guk discuss ay gal issues niya kora prevalent ay gal kakarosal communities rigid and how they can work within their own communities kuk support ay gal luredi na ma-effort our leaders al advance progress ay gal issue.
Digo spera un example. Gadam sadra Facebook. El meigel online scam ng mort mlam tamala gadam letter lang press conference am sa. Sel dungura Facebook el gira igel to they couldn't care less. Malgi karel bulu. One of the things Australia really say al sumaranga bilora 18 years old, I say 16. And they got nga social media makasi ako makara enforce say. Well, I get banner tira blumam. Of course, they got 25 million lad mga terrible البراد لو بامنجيل. That's why we need sell كده مقاسين. إذا Pacific قد مط مقاlos per rather Australia, New Zealand is أرنغلا Pacific together we say take it a stancer كمان. So أجي يسوون implement ترتيان إمغرا دخل enforcing the protect our children. Again, those are the opportunities. Sura. Lastly, Marin, yeah. Rather closing here, the Minnesota Tira, sure, take care of other Belarus seals, the public servants, Togobets, Tigel, Maria, Togobets and Seals, Tira Seals. Maria Tewang, Tira, Tanjobir Tira Seals. Miguel Hotel, Aclola Vertir. A directora Abla Bulis, director Elobatan. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday mula Director Arbulis sa Malmsauro Redem.
Director ngaria Arlene Alexander, ngara Ministry of Education ngara koro. ma Ruby ngiral mau ngadiri ngara food service ngara MOE. Last thing sana Santa Rosa, okay? This Leo Scoro. Ngar sa lobby sa gidra si IPM minister. Malditewang. Oh, diak, lastly. Number 5. Kalistus Puloy. Ngara MHHS. So, happy birthday. Ya, Dios ulang makaltangat kami, ulang makaltangat trablo rebelaw, marbekla rebelaw. Ma next press conference again. Wednesday, na next week. Orang mau buat mereka dengan pif mo. The next week ada rutra ada adang, sulang.